The combat challenge, for those that have been around for many years, was being used not only for competition, was now being adopted by departments to use that as a physical agility standard that you had to pass to stay on the job. And the combat challenge was set with time parameters, and they were running every incumbent. So an incumbent is you and I. Once we get on the job, they were saying, you'd have to go through the combat challenge, and if you don't pass, here we go. So the IAFF says, you know what? We're not endorsing that. So let's figure out what would work for our individuals, our people. And so they said, hey, let's figure out an agility for a captain, a lieutenant, a firefighter, an engineer, a driver, a battalion chief. Let's figure out, and they said there's no way because every job is different. So they said this is mind-boggling. There's no way we're going to do it. So let's focus in on something different. So they had to take a step back. And they said, you know what? Let's see if we can develop an agility for people that are coming through the front doors, a candidate. And we won't worry about an agility for incumbents. So they said, let's create the candidate physical agility test. So what started off for incumbent testing quickly changed to candidates. And that's how we came up with the CPAT. Then they said, should we ever do an incumbent testing, physical agility, for job performance? They said, you know what? We're not going to advocate that. What we should advocate is making sure our guys are medically cleared. What we should advocate is that we gave them behavioral health because we're going to have suicides. We're going to have issues with marriage, financial. We're going to deal with alcohol and chemical dependency. What we should focus on, how do we make our firefighters fit? Let's focus in on the things that will impact our people, not only on the job, but well into retirement. So that's how the initiative was created. Okay? But the focus was on the employee, the member of the organization. And so that's why I'm here today, is to try to educate you on the focus. In 1996, they brought 10 departments in. The 10 departments didn't know what initiative was. We had to create the initiative. We brought people in to write it. We brought doctors in. We brought exercise physiologists in. We brought behavioral health people because we knew we needed an all-encompassing wellness program. So the 10 departments, Phoenix Fire Department, Miami-Dade, Fairfax, Virginia, Seattle, Indianapolis, New York, Los Angeles County, Austin, Texas, Calgary, Alberta, and Charlotte, North Carolina. Those were the 10 departments where the fire chief and union president shook hands and said, we don't know how we're going to get there, but we're going to get there. We're not sure how much it's going to cost, but we're going to figure it out. And so they created the initiative, and then they told the 10 departments, since you created, implement it. So County Fire had to create medicals. What's going to be in a medical? Well, we went back to the initiative. Here's all the things that the doctors decided would be great screening tools for our employees. LA County goes, we can't afford all that, so we're going to do these. These that are specific for our job. Skin cancer, California. Imagine that, right? That's a big deal for us. Respiratory. Why? Wildland fires. There is no respiratory protection for firefighters on wildland fires. People throw chemicals in fields. The brush burns oils. So we did spirometry. We felt that respiratory was a big deal. So we customized whatever the IAFF said in the medical, and we came up with our own medical piece. Now we needed to find a doctor to do it. So we found 4 of them, and we'll get into that. But the initiative gave us the format of what we should test for and screen for, and then we looked at our budget and said, this is what we can afford and this is what we're going to do. We did the same thing with fitness. What equipment are we going to buy and why are we going to buy it and how much money do we have? Behavioral health. What's an EAP program? Can we contract people out? Data collection. Who's going to pay for the software? We're going to use all this stuff came down to a financial, how are we going to implement this? And usually labor's fighting with administration to pull this off because it's money. And so oftentimes administration says, you know what, that's going to cost too much. We don't want to do this. We'll just continue the way business is. But the department felt with the union president that the #1 asset still needs to be monitored. Hence the initiative. So the 10 departments, we've been doing it since 2001. We're in 2016. In 15 years, there's never been a medical condition where a county firefighter was removed from service permanently, that they had to retire. Nothing. And that's from the wellness. Have we found numerous cancers? I can go on and tell you. Heart issues were stents, blockage, absolutely. Liver transplants, we had one incident, and it's on the video that is on the IFF. A gentleman donated his brother his kidney, the other kidney. When he went to his wellness exam several years later, the enzymes were through the roof. That wellness doctor says, I think your other kidney is malfunctioning. Not only did he donate, he's down to one. When they looked, he was right. He had to go get a kidney transplant. He was put high on the list because once you donate, guess what? You get a little preferential treatment, especially when you're only down to one, right? He ended up having a kidney, and he's back on our job today. That's what the program's designed to do. It's not to remove us. And so the mandatory non-punitive initiative is mandatory. Departments pay for a wellness exam. Punitive, the non-punitive is, we're not going to get rid of you. We want you to come back. We want to make you whole. How do we get there? And that's the intent of the program. So we would love to keep our firefighters healthy and safe, not only through their career, but when they retire. That's the intent. Reduce work comp claims. That is yet to be determined, but I don't need to dwell on it. So the third edition. Obviously, the first two, we've made it better. The fourth edition comes out in January, and it's going to be even more detailed out. And it's, again, what we've learned over the years. This fourth edition, how it was created is they brought all these physicians in from Hopkins, from Maryland, from LA County, and they sit in a room and say, what is it that firefighters do and what can we screen so that we can take care of them? That's all the physicians do. In another room, they have all these behavioral health specialists, psychologists. You deal with PTSD, you deal with marriage issues, you deal with alcohol and chemical dependency. What do our firefighters deal with, and how? And each room, peer fitness trainers, you're in your own room. What do we need to do to make it better? When somebody gets injured, we need rehabs. So we had physical therapists. They're all in their separate rooms, and they came together and we revised the initiative because of what we learned and what we've seen. And the biggest change is the behavioral health. And we'll talk about that. But this isn't slammed together by a couple people. These are professionals and experts, and the IAFF does everything to the finest detail. And so this wellness program will continue to change. And what we looked at and what we evaluated, and this is why the IAFF and IFC is so important, they have shaken their hands on this program. And what they're saying is, here it is. Small or large department, don't reinvent the wheel. We have created a program with subject matter experts around the world that a small city or a large department does not have to spend the money to make sure that this is vetted and it's good for our people. The IAFF is standing behind it, and so is the IFC, to say we are always going to put the best product out on the shelf for our people, for your safety, and not to remove you from service. That's the last thing. So that's the intent, and that's where we're at. So the fourth edition, as I said, is coming out. So here's the thing. The IAFF's up in Washington. If you've never been there, I've had an opportunity to go numerous times. And I'm telling you, you could see the White House from there. And I didn't realize how important political action is until I got involved in the IAFF. And let me tell you, they fight for everything for us. They fight to protect our rights. They're not Republican or Democratic. They fight for who's going to protect us. Whether it's administration or not administration, whether you're being challenged on your pension from the state or not from the state, they fight for what's right to protect what we have. And so they take that endeavor, and when they set the template that will fight for you, and here's an initiative, now it's up to a department or municipality to figure it out. What part of this initiative do you want to take? Do you want to take the medical piece on first? Do you want to take the fitness? Do you want to take the rehab piece? What piece is the most important for your department? But here they are. Here's the pieces. Grab onto whatever and start moving forward. And that's what they did. And they said, before you start, put these people in the room because it's already embraced in the middle. That stays confident and neutral. But you better get safety members in this committee to find out what's good for your people. You better make sure that the budget people are in the room on the bottom left-hand corner because they got to fund it. So let's talk about that. Let's say the department says, we're going to run you through annual medicals. And they said, George, we want to get annual medicals for our people. I go, who's running them now? Well, we have this facility that we use that the city has, and it's run by a nurse practitioner, or you can get a physician's assistant. And I go, well, you know, when we did our wellness programs, we felt that we needed an internal medicine or occupational physician. So guess what? We upped the pay. It costs more money. The department said, okay, we'll do that. So we have 4 contracted facilities that our people, because we're 182 stations, 3,400 members, it takes 3.5 hours to get from one end of the county to the next. They have to go to different areas. Close to home, close to work, whatever you want, but just go. So we up the standards. But when we picked the doctor, we wanted to make sure that they were versed in what a firefighter does. So we interviewed them. We just didn't let it go out to anybody. We put what their job was going to do, and then there was an interview. There was labor there was management there was firefighters there. They selected the doctor, and they went forward. And so that's how you bring a labor management program together to make it work. Because if you're not comfortable with that doctor, you're never going to divulge anything. And if you think that the city's done something or labor's done something, the only way you're going to know is by picking it. So our doctors, I'm telling you, the doctor that I have, I use as my personal physician. He is that good. We do not go to the doctors on our own. I don't. I'm 53. I've been on the job 28 years, and I only go when I'm sick. But once a year, because our department requires a volunteer program, it's not mandatory, a volunteer program, I go annually for, I step through those doors, I get a 3% bonus. This is not part of the initiative, okay? So let me make this clear. The initiative says this is what we do. If it's behavioral health, this is the program that we say is the gold standard. If it's fitness, here's the gold standard. If it's medical, here's the gold standard. Data collection, right, and so on. Rehab. But county fire may not be able to hit the gold standard because of logistics, because of personnel, because of money, but here's the gold standard. So what I'm saying is we cut what we can afford. We cut and customize what's good for our people. And that's how everyone should approach it. And so your program is yet to be determined until you figure out what's going to be good for you. And that's what that committee does. So, a survey. Ideally, I could sit here and tell you what I think you need, but what good is it? I need your input. And so a survey should go out. Hey, what's important to you? What's important to you? What's important to you? Where's medical in importance to you? What's behavioral health important? What's fitness important? And you know what? We're going to get different answers, right? And if I send out 145 surveys, guess what? The information is going to come back. And then you're going to tally it up and go, wow, you know, 60% of them said medicals are important. The others said behavioral health is. And you know what? So then that's the one we should address first. Because this is what the membership has said. So this is what we're going to do. So guess what? The initiative has a survey for you all. And it's in a Word document or an Excel document, right? So that you could customize it. So the committee says, hey, that's a poor question. We don't have to deal with that because that's LA County, or that's something that a big department, this is a small department. Well, this is what we want. So you can customize it, but you need to get the intel from the people that it's impacting to develop what's going to be a good program. And then this way you know. A year later, after that survey's out, you're going to evaluate if they did what you asked them to do. Otherwise, they're going to implement a program according to what they think. The committee's going to focus in on what you need. A big difference. And you need to be on that committee. You need a voice. You need someone you respect. You need all the right players to speak on your behalf. And that's the beauty of the Wellness Fitness Initiative. It's committee-driven designed to take care and customize it for your department. Okay? Any questions on that? All right. So, what are the concerns? This is my concerns. Every department that we go to, here's the concerns. Losing one's career. They find a medical condition, and what are you going to do? Who's going to know? Where am I going to get medical follow-up? How confidential is this going to be? The number one question that's answered at every place that we go is, what's going to happen? So I'm going to give you examples. LA County, the volunteer program, not in the IFF. It's not endorsed that way. But LA County says this is good for our people. So we're going to do it this way. We're going to give you a 3% bonus if you go. You have to give a good faith effort. You have to go during your birth month. We'll give you 60 days. Birth month is 30 days. We'll do 15 in front, 15 in back. So mine's July. June 15th, I can go up to August 15th. If I want my 3%, I got to go get my medical during that time. So I do. Volunteer. 3% of my salary, a bonus. EMT, another bonus. So that when I retire, not only my safety and health and wellness is there, there's a ticket in this. Why did we do that? Why did we incentivize it? Because when we had a volunteer program, there was only 50% participation. And most of that participation was hazmat people that need every 2 years clearance, respiratory fit, scuba, because we have lifeguards that do scuba diving. So those are the only ones that were going in. Most people didn't want to go in. So the union says, I need to take care of our people in two ways. I know that the initiative is in place not to remove them from job service. So that is the safety net. But I'm going to have management to give us a wellness bonus to get them in. And we're at 98% because of that incentive. If you want it, go get it. If you don't want it, you don't have to go get it. But here it is for you. And most of our guys, since doing it, nobody questions their wellness program. It's been 15 years up and running. We could probably go mandatory and get away with it. But you know what the union president says? At 98%, why would I want to fix something that's not broken? What's the reason to get the last 2%? They don't want it, they don't want it. So let's live with it and we'll leave it this way. Maybe some other diet will entertain, but we got bigger fish to fry right now. So we've customized it. We're part of the 10 leading departments, and we've customized it because your membership is what you have to read and deal with. And if we don't do that, we lose. And so I was able to meet with the city manager. I was able to meet with the fire chief. Obviously your union president, and that's all we've preached. Customize it, and that's all I've heard back. Hey, we're doing it for them. We don't even know what it's going to look like. We don't even know how much it's going to cost. But we need to get this committee together to entertain and put this thing together and start forming and shaping the Play-Doh to something. And that's where we're at. So I'm looking for your questions at me on your concerns. I'm looking for what you'd like to hear or what we could address, because I've been doing it for 15 years and I've seen a lot of medical conditions. I've seen a lot of firefighters have to be in a state of maybe not full duty but modified duty and get them back to work. I've dealt with them, and that was my job. And it still is my job because I help our people. Okay? So what should be the intent? The intent is to try to take care of us and keep us healthy and fit. So let's talk about, let's say somebody goes into a wellness exam. And I want to talk about wellness exams because it really is the cornerstone of this initiative. An annual medical is designed to screen us for catastrophic things that could take us down. That's what it's designed to do. To give you a fighting chance that if something's small in its state, to nip it in the butt. Through a doctor care and medical managing. It was discovered over here by the department annual. To take care of it, you're on your own. You're going through your own private doctor, your own insurance, so that confidentiality stays over here. It's still confidential over here because something was discovered, and they're saying something was discovered, but you got to go vet it out with your own doc. Okay? Now, if it's one of these, and these are presumptive in your state as well as in California, I could file a work comp claim. So I would have to go to a work comp doctor, and now the department has a knowledge that you filed a claim. And in order to accept the claim, they need to say, hey, department, the person filed a claim for this reason. We're going to accept the claim. We're going to cover their time and medical expenses. But that's not normal. Not every illness is a work comp issue. So I just want to bring clarity that you have a workers' compensation system where the department becomes aware that you filed a claim. You have an annual medical system where the department has no idea what's going on if that's the way you build it. And your personal physician has no obligation to turn over any of that to anybody. So confidentiality remains intact, as it should be. Because if you don't want somebody knowing your business, they don't need to. And let me give you a good case. I go to my wellness exam and they discover cancer. I want to go to my doc and say, hey, what am I going to do? We got to run a battery of tests. How you feeling? I feel great. This is a surprise to me. Oh, wow. Hey, Joe, I just got diagnosed where I possibly have cancer. They're going to run a bunch of tests. I don't know what to do. How you feeling? So then we attach a peer support, behavioral health. My family, my wife's scared. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. Until I get the doctor under my private insurance to vet this out. Hopefully, when the tests come back, I'm still at work. I'm not the same. I'm worried about this. I'm worried about I'm not the same until I get these test results done. And guess what? It's not. There's nothing there. Thank you. Didn't like it, but thank you. We found something. Prostate. What are my choices? Well, we could remove the robotics, chemo, radiation. What are those choices? Can I still work? I can still work. Can I be cured? Yeah, you can be cured. Okay, let's go. And so that's what we're trying to do. What we don't want is a stage 4 cancer and they're going, it's too late. We weren't able to catch it soon enough. The only time we go to a doctor is when? When? When we're sick. When we're sick. So you know what? I'm probably not going to go in till when? The symptoms are severe. I'm not saying every cancer is going to be caught because we can't screen and nobody can, but if we can detect through white blood count that it's going through the roof and there's a reason, what the heck's going on here? What are you fighting? Is there an infection going on there? That's what it's designed to do. And to have a wellness program to do something like that, that's non-punitive in nature, I'll take every day, all day. And that's the comfort level that we feel at LA County when we step through those doors. Okay, so presumptive. Respiratory, there's COPD. I had pneumonia. The beauty of presumptive laws, and I kiss my labor president as well as the state presidents, the presumptive laws are here for us. So let me give you a good example. They're rebuttable presumptives. So let's start with presumptive. Presumptive means that if you have one of these illnesses, that the job has to prove that you didn't get it on the job. How the heck would you do that? Before, without the presumptives, you'd have to prove that you got it from the job. How would you do that? So what people were doing, and let's do cancer. How many calls were I on? Where's all my exposure reports? When was I feeling bad? Okay, here, doc. And the doc go, I can't say that there's a link to the job. Presumptive says, the doc goes, without those exposure reports, without knowing anything, I can't prove you didn't get it from the job. So you know what? Cancer's picked up. 99% of all claims filed presumptive are picked up. The last 1% is somebody had a congenital issue, like a heart issue. They came on the job with a heart issue. So then the department says, hey, if that was congenital before they got on the job, that's not part of the job. So presumptive is enormous. You have presumptive laws, and they're there for you to not only protect you while you're on the job, it's going to not only cover your time. What about future medical care? We all believe that we're going to be here forever, and we want to be. But when you get a claim picked up, it's not only taking care of your time away from work, it's picking up the medical bills. And let's say when you retire, you get future medical. You get that until you pass away or in the grave. That's what work comp does. That's why these work comp costs can go so high, because it takes you all the way through because it's a job-related illness or injury. So if we could find these things to prevent this catastrophic or getting at that road, let's try. So wellness can have an impact on you. And it's really your health. So these are the presumptive cases. If you want to know what the laws are, you go to IAFF.org, you look on the state. That's what I did with Texas before I got here. Pulled it up and it says, this is what Texas presumptive laws are. So I know California is different, so on, so. How about this? Hawaii has no presumptives. Cancer's not even presumptive. Those firefighters that have cancer, they're fighting to get a claim picked up, and all that's falling on their medical insurance. And if they die from cancer, their wife gets nothing. It is totally on their own. And so when we have labor fighting for presumptive, I take my hat off because it's huge. Incumbents, us, we took and made a fitness program specific for us. It says on the bottom, education. We talked about nutrition. We talked about supplements, hydration, acclimatization. That book has all those things at LA County firefighters. It doesn't say that you have to work out this hard. It gives you the recommendations. So we put a booklet out. Hey, this is what we advocate. We used to play football, basketball, volleyball, and frisbee golf. And what was happening is we were getting injuries, strains and sprains, right? Guys clicking their ankle, weekend warriors, we were doing all kinds of stuff. And the department's going, hey, that's costing a lot of money. I know you like playing sports, gentlemen, but we can't be doing that on duty. So they said no ball sports, mandatory physical fitness, but no ball sports. So then they had to drop in equipment, CrossFit equipment, because some people like CrossFit. Some people don't want to do CrossFit. We don't want it. So guess what? Recumbent bikes, upright bikes, treadmills. You know what? That's not enough. What happens if there's a gym in your jurisdiction? Let them go to the gym. They pay for their membership, but let them go on duty. So at the station I'm at, we go to LA Fitness, just very similar to 24-hour. So it's customized for our people. There's no limits. If somebody wants to walk outside where the truck is and they want to go to the gym, they don't have to. Those that want to go into the gym, they go into the gym. So I'm just letting you know that the initiative is the template. It is the foundation. And you make it specific for your department and your needs, what's going to work. And guess what? Most of us, maybe some of us, I'm a little older than most of you, it's going to be here longer than I leave. So will it need to be reevaluated? Will it need to change? Absolutely. And so you have a choice on having a decision on what we're going to do. Who should oversee this program? You have a doctor and you have peer fitness trainers that are working together to keep the medical piece and the fitness piece always working together, okay? And I can get into that more. When we say we want a wellness program that's all-encompassing, there's some of you out there that love CrossFit, okay? Some of you like P90X. Some of you don't even want to do fitness. Some of you just want to eat right, maintain, get a medical screening, and that's it. Guess what? The program needs to consider everyone. If I just go buy CrossFit equipment, someone of age may not want to move that way. Maybe they have a bad shoulder or and they can't do those movement patterns. It doesn't mean they can't adjust it, but that equipment may not be good for them. What happens if they're tired and they're up all night? Then I got to be able to develop the equipment in the station just like a wellness program and adjust it. So it's all inclusion. We include everybody. We got to look at everybody's needs, not just one. And so that's one of the biggest things, and the only way you'll know that is through your committee. So, a program, what should it look like? We at LA County do a wellness program. There's departments, and yesterday a department was here from Woodlands. They do a fitness for duty. Okay? There's a difference. The IAFF says we want a mandatory, non-punitive program. It doesn't say it's a fitness for duty. It doesn't say it's wellness. It just says a mandatory program. So LA County's chosen to volunteer. So let's talk about the fitness for duty one. Woodlands says when you're on our dime and you're at our job, we're going to send you to get annual medicals. And you're going to do fitness assessments while on duty. County Fire says we're going to pay you 3%. You're going to go to your medicals off duty, and we're going to give you 3%, and that's where we're going to live. If you need follow-up, go see your doctor. You pick. You pick. If people were 20 years old and I had 145 members of 20-year-olds, could I make it mandatory? I could, but what's going to happen to the 20-year-old 30 years from now? Right? And so we need to make sure that if something's working, why fix what's not broken? We need to develop a program for us, and I can't overemphasize that. So the template's there. You've got to customize it to you all's needs. So mandatory, non-punitive. It's mandatory that we offer these medicals. It's mandatory that we participate, because if you offer the medicals and no one goes, what good is it? For instance, at LA County, 50% of the people did not go. When we put 3%, everyone was walking through the doors. So it's mandatory that they go. If you choose to, LA County is volunteer, but they're going. So the fire chief says, hey, what am I going to do with the last 2%? There's no reason to fight that. The union president. Confidentiality. When our employees go to these clinic physicians, the medical record stays with that physician. The department does not get any information as far as medical records back. We talked briefly about this already. It's designed to be one-on-one. That's where it's designed to be. So if you want to share your medical information and if you want to release it, so let's say you have a private doctor and you want this information, either they give it to you and you hand it to your doctor, or you can have that doctor send it to that doctor, but a medical release has to happen. In work comp, if he files a work comp, if they want that, then you have to sign a release to get it. So medical confidentiality is always there. Always. No records are shared. Now we hear rumors, we hear most firefighters find out if somebody's sick, right? We come alongside them, we really take care of them. But I'm telling you, by medical standards, they are protected not to do that. And that's so important, because it will drive a program. Norms versus standards. We worry about standards. I don't like standards. When we have standards in place, what happens? We could be held to those standards. Combat challenge. You're held at a certain time. Standards are like military. You finish, you're in, or you're out. The IAFF doesn't look at that, and they address norms versus standards. Norms are where someone your age would be doing. It gives you an idea, maybe I should do a little bit better, maybe I'm up higher, but it gives you where people are at. Standards are this or nothing. And so we're not advocating that, and the reason I bring it up is the initiative does not deal with standards. They deal with norms. So that you have a gauge of yourself with somebody else. Actually, everyone should be competing with themselves, but the bottom line is there's no standards. And then cost. Why do I put that up there with a wellness program of success? Because if I tell you I want to implement a program and I don't put the money in it, it's only as good as what you buy. If you buy a VW, a 65 VW, you're not going to go 180 miles an hour. Okay? You're just not. And it's not going to look like a Ferrari ever. So when management says we're willing to take this and we spend $500 per medical for 3,400 members, we drop $5,000 to $10,000 in 182 fire stations for equipment, it's a big ticketed item. And if we didn't, and then we throw 3%. If we didn't do that, and we didn't have our members participate, then what good is the program? And so we need participation, but you need the funding to go with the participation. People are using it, go. Otherwise, it's going to go away. And so we don't want it to go away. We work too hard. So that's why labor and management wanted it in some kind of agreement, some kind of contract, some kind of MOU. We put it in our MOU. In other words, we have a 3% language in our MOU. If you go to your wellness exam during your birth month, you will be able to obtain 3%. Why? Because if the union president ever changes or the fire chief ever changes, this remains the same. The only way that can be touched is negotiated. We can't have management or labor strip it out at any time they want. So it has to be embedded in a document for us. Because what? I'm retiring in 2 years. I'm out of here. But this needs to live. And it's so important that the initiative agrees and says, put it in an MOU to protect yourselves so that it doesn't get washed away. So performance goals. The department's hoping that as we get healthier and fit, we get stronger and better and do better performance. Unions saying, hey, I want to protect our members. So there's always opposing forces, but that's what that labor management committee is designed to do, is to get through all this. So the components of a wellness exam. We have the medical piece, right? Confidential. We have the rehabilitation piece. Let me tell you where the rehab comes into place. So let's say, and this is the new 4th edition, there is no department that I'm aware of that takes the rehab to this extent. However, the gold standard has been set by the IAFF, and this is what the IAFF would love to have. So Mr. Smith here suffers a lower back injury and he gets surgery. He's off of work for 8 months, and his doctor now puts him on physical therapy. The goal is to get Mr. Smith back at a year. What they want is a peer trainer to come along Mr. Smith and say, you're going to physical therapy, where are you going? I'm going to start giving him equipment, turnouts, some of the BAs, and I want to see, and the peer fitness trainer is walking you till you're released to full duty. That is the gold standard. That is what the IAFF would love to see, so that continuum of care is getting you ready so that you can go back and reduce an injury to the back or anything else because you become deconditioned over 12 months. That's a gold standard. So the IAFF writes it that way. To pull that off, you need peer fitness trainers. You need equipment. You need the peer fitness trainers to dialogue with the physical therapists. You need them to communicate. That is a gold standard. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Who has the money? Who has the time? But the IAFF has made the gold standard. You do what you can do to pull it off. Maybe work comp's not an issue for your department. So you know what? We don't have to deal with the rehab. Let's focus on medicals. Let's put more money towards fitness equipment. It's really what is going to work for you. Behavioral health. The biggest chapter on the 4th edition is behavioral health. I have been subject to behavioral health issues. I've had a family member that has alcohol issues, disrupted the whole family, impacted me as an individual. But how do you work through it? I'm telling you, each and every one of you either knows someone or knows personally someone going through this, or a family member. Alcohol and chemical dependency on our job is a no tolerance. 0. And if you come in and it's reasonable suspicion, we will test you. That's policy. But what we're trying to say is, hey, we understand that PTSD, we understand that things get tough at home. We understand that you're having marriage issues. So how do we put a behavioral program that's anonymous, confidential, so that it never gets to the point of A, you having to deal with the law, which is discipline, B, that we never have it blow up where you possibly hurt yourself or hurt someone else. LA County firefighter had 4 suicides in 2 years. The most tragic one was a person on duty, left his post. The guys were trying to talk him, hey, settle down, be quiet, no worries, no worries. Went home, killed his wife, and then took his own. Now, how does that happen? And so the chief's going, Board of Supervisors, we have a line of duty death, but it's not one that we look at as something that's line of duty. And we're very close to the sheriffs, so it's like, how do we walk through this? We've disrupted families, and everyone says, how did this happen? And you go, could we have helped? Was there a mechanism in place? I'm not saying we could have stopped it. I'm saying, as a responsibility of the department, PTSD, these issues that we get exposed to on a daily basis, we are impacted. And how do we work through it? And that's what the behavioral health program is designed to do. Drug and alcohol is a big deal in our department. Not so big of a deal that it affects 90% of the population. It probably only affects 2% of the population. But that 2% could lose their job. That 2% is destroying a family. That 2% is now having job performance issues. And that 2% takes up a lot of work. And so how do we go around to our brothers and sisters and say, you need help. And let's put trained professionals in place. So the IAFF says, if you were to have a behavioral health program, this is the gold standard. Try to get close to it. Always try to get close to it. I know you can't fund it, but maybe having someone available, one counselor available 3 days out of the week instead of 7, maybe put something in place, because your firefighters are going to be subjected to this. And so that's what the behavioral health piece is. The fitness piece, what equipment do you need? What trainers would you need with this equipment so you train them correctly? What's the gambit of your audience, and how are you going to train, and why are you going to train? So the fitness has its own chapter, and then data collection. So as we walk through it, the medical is identifying catastrophic conditions and treat them. Rehab, I just told you, it'd be nice to have a peer fitness trainer to get you not only for the shoulder injury that you suffered, but to get you completely back whole duty so that you're not deconditioned, so you can hit the job running. Behavioral health, counseling services, people opening up, peer support, mental health professionals, fitness assessments. How strong are you? Are you holding the strength over the years? Are you declining? Is it because of the job, or is it because we're just getting old like I am? Which one is it? Or was it an injury? So all this gives us data. And data's not bad as long as it's not identifiable. So I don't need to know what John is, or Smith is, or Henry is. I just need to know what our population is. So it's my understanding you have 145 individuals. I have no idea where you're all at medically. So if you run a program where we just get medically screened and we see where we're at, maybe we don't have an issue. If we do fitness assessments, we find out where people are at, maybe we don't have an issue. And if we have one, what are we going to do to get them better? We're not trying to get rid of any, we want to make them better. We want to move them in a positive direction. And it's not about being the most fitted as an individual. It's really about your ability to live past this job and being safe on the job. I got 2 years left. I'm here to let you know for 28 years this is what I live and breathe. But when I retire, I'm hoping to spend every penny that the county has put in. Every penny. And I have responsibilities. I have kids. I've got to maintain. I want to see them. I want to make sure that my daughter gets married and walk her down the aisle. I want to do these things, and it has nothing to do with the job. 2/3 of my time I'm away from work. I'm required to be there 10 days a month. The other 2/3, I want to run. I want to have fun. I want to be with my kids. I want to do whatever I want. And I want to be healthy and safe to do that for as long as I want. I don't want to be restricted. If you get an on-the-job injury or illness and somebody says you got to be on the meds the rest of your life, or you got to do this for the, if I could prevent it or reduce it, I'm all in. Because that's what it comes down to. I love my job, but it's not my job identity. I love who I work for, but I got a life outside of that. And that's what we need to take in consideration. It's not all about this. This program is about everything outside of the job too. And who you protect and who you take care of at home. And so if you have an opportunity to sit down and get a program together, write it out that's worked for you. Okay. I think that's the last slide.